I'll tell you what freedom is to me. No fear.
Very, very special. I'm actually not nervous. This is like the vibe that you have when you know you're actually going to body something and do a great job, but you're like, yo, this is not a normal moment. This is like a very, very, very serious matter. We have our first guest. That's fucking amazing. Not just that. We have a very, very special person to Angela and I. This person holds many titles, many experiences. This person has built movements, built organizations. This person has led national organizations, NAACP, AFL-CIO, Planned Parenthood, Student Association, USSA. This person has literally married myself with my wife. This person, when I tell you, I'm so happy to have them and so happy that they pulled up here, that the universe allowed us to make it come true. We have motherfucking Carmen Berkley, y'all. Yo.
Yay.
Hi.
Carmen Berkley, y'all.
What an intro. Thank you, guys.
I mean, there's just so much to say.
I mean, so much to say.
The fact that you officiated our wedding is hilarious and like just the most incredible thing to say.
Word. I mean, you've literally done many things. That intro was like, oh wow, I have like less than 24 hours to prepare for this, and I'm doing all types of things, including making oxtail, which takes 4 hours.
Oh, it was so bomb though. It's still in my mouth. That's why I had to brush my teeth.
but I do say that to say that, like, on some real shit, like, that wasn't even a proper introduction for how epic Carmen is, how epic your experiences have been. I'm just happy you're here. I'm happy you're here. I'm happy that I can call you a friend. I'm happy that, you know, you're a huge, important person to Angela's life, to my life, to our family. Shit's lit.
You all are my family members, and you know it. And it was an honor to marry the both of you. Lee and I, my husband, it was an honor to be asked. And we took that extremely seriously. Like, there's a lot of things that Lee and I do together, but when you all asked us to do that, because, you know, we've been married for a long time, we were like, oh, we have to do this well because we love the two of you, but also because we understand what that means in someone's life. And so thank you just for letting us share that with you all.
I mean, legend has it we kind of met at their wedding.
Word. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
True.
Legend. The tale that we tell.
Because you know it's like you see someone on the Facebooks and the internets,
right?
And then you're like, oh, okay, cool, whatever.
A person in your swirl of an ecosystem.
Yeah, and then totally pulled up to your wedding, and Angela was wearing a gold sequence dress.
It wasn't sequins, but it was gold.
Was it glitter?
It was glittery, yes. It
Word.
was sparkly. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's a whole nother podcast episode, low-key.
Another story.
It is. It is.
A great story. A great story to tell.
But can I back up?
Yeah, totally.
Because I also feel like when I first met you, I just always knew that you were going to be in our life because, which I know will connect back to stories about work. But when I met you, I was like, oh, you're going to vibe with my husband.
Immediately.
And so...
To be clear, she's dressing it up a little. To be clear, or actually not dressing it up at all, not telling a factual quote, rather. To be clear, This is actually such a great moment. So when I met Carmen, working at the American Federation of Labor Congress of Industrial Organizations.
Good job.
I literally never know what that means.
But yo,
I'm
I
like,
mean,
you know who I'm talking about.
as a nigga moving from Florida to DC, working down the street from the White House in this big old established ass labor federation, whatever. It was just so important for me to remember that. Like, what is the acronym to this motherfucking building? Because if there's one thing y'all not about to catch me slipping on is not knowing the name. Because a nigga like me will forget the name.
Oh, it's long.
Like, I'll be like, what? America? Okay, cool. But I just was like, nah, I'm not about to let y'all. No. But when I first met Carmen, we were downstairs somewhere in the war room type situation, working on something. Carmen pulled up, and you literally, I don't know what we said to each other, but you like took a step back and you were like, oh, you a nigga.
So
You're gonna get along really well with my husband. And I was just like, great. This feels awesome. I feel at home.
I love it. So beautiful. Oh, you're one of us.
Yeah.
I
It
see.
was a very much like you were like, oh no, I see you trying to be in this space, trying to like do the thing, but like nigga, I see you.
Yeah.
I see you trying to memorize the words, but
Yeah.
Word,
But that's
word.
important when we see each other is to, because I feel like there are so many people kind of cosplaying at work, or like black people that have to
pretend.
They gotta pretend. I feel like even when Angela and I first met each other, you know, like we were both these like, okay, black women that come from a certain type of family. But as we kind of grew up, it was like, all right, like let's shed the skin.
Over and over again.
So when you meet people that you really know, okay, I see you.
Word.
You gotta kind of name that.
Totally.
And I see you, and also me seeing you is like, hey, it's okay to be you. At least with me. You know what I mean? Like, I see you, and if you ever need like, I had a moment, honestly, recently, like, connecting with a new black woman coworker. It's like, hey, it's cool if you can be black with me. I'm black with a capital B. So, you know what I mean? Like, you can be black with me.
Word.
If you need to navigate blackness in this workspace, I got you. You know, like it is also, it's an invitation to be yourself and to maybe find a safe space in spaces that aren't always so safe.
Yes.
But like, let me just say that the one thing I appreciated so much about that moment, and just like how that was like the it just paved the way for what I experienced as our relationship, which is like a very authentic and genuine interactions with you, that I feel like a lot of people in DC kind of just struggle with. Mm-hmm. Like, to Angela's point, like, you know, hey, I see you, like, you can be yourself. You can be black as fuck and, you know, unapologetically black and do your thing here. I feel like in DC, a lot of people struggled with that. Like, struggled with this, like, who they are naturally, who they are, period, the end, their stories, how they're coming into the space. And then, like, this, like, respectability politics, if you will. Like, you got to do this in order to get there, and you have to act this way, and da-da-da. You can't show this side of yourself. I feel like my interactions with you were very much like, I feel like this person is being themselves, and it's not only encouraging me to be myself, it's encouraging me to take up more space.
But do you feel like people struggle with that? Or do you feel like there are certain people that are just like thinking that they're going to take advantage of not being black or being respectable? Like, I feel like there's just like, I don't know. Sometimes I think, yes, people are like, I wish I could be, you know, more authentic myself. But I feel like, or people are like, I don't want to code switch. I wish I didn't have to code switch. But I think some people are like, nah, like I'm using this to my advantage. Like I think that this is profitable. I think that this is getting me somewhere in my career.
I think it's both. I think it's both. And I think that there's some people that unfortunately, it's okay that we can let them go. Like if they want to operate in the world that way, like let's just let them be that way because they're not going to change. But when we find each other, we should bring each other in because it's not those people's fault that they're falling into the vortex of the white working world. Because we were socialized that way. And our parents were socialized that way. So a lot of them taught us that the only way that we could make money is to operate like that. Yeah. But we have fought so hard to not be that way and to see that, hey, there's another way to operate. And to be honest, I feel like the reason why I said that to Kevin when I saw him, was to validate, like, yes, there's you. Also. Yeah, thank God you're here. But two, once Lee did come back and there were so many of us that were working at the AFL-CIO that were a lot alike, we were able to create very beautiful things together. Like very black, authentically black, beautiful art. We were able to get black labor workers, union workers from all over the country to feel the way that we felt about blackness. And then the people that didn't want to come along, they didn't have to.
Word.
I mean, I think that this idea of like being able to show up, seeing another black person and inviting them to show up as their real self is also, I feel like it's like maybe like level like if disrupting white supremacy is like middle school to high school graduation, like 6th grade to 12th grade, that's like 8th grade, 9th grade. Being it, you know what I mean? You're like in the middle of the process. If you're one of the people that can be like, hey, I see you, black person, and I'm inviting you to be, I'm giving you the like thumbs up by being my own self. Like, I feel like that's, midway through the like disrupting white supremacy at work journey.
And we weren't always there. I'm not gonna lie.
No.
Angela,
No, definitely not.
Angela and I met, I feel like, and you might recall this better than me, but I feel like we met when I was about 21 or 22. I know we met, I think, on a bed in Michigan. And when Angela...
The way you say it, the way
it wasn't like in a sexual way. It was, I don't know why we were on a bed. But we were on a bed. It doesn't matter.
We were on a bed. But we were 21, 22. There were a bunch of white dudes in the room, too.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how we met. But the moral of the story is Angela and
most of them were gay.
Ended up working together in Washington, D.C. at a student association. And we had these like high power jobs where Angela went to the Capitol and she was like,
I was a lobbyist.
She was a lobbyist and I was the president of an organization at 22. Which was
a foundation and a C3 and a C4.
Yeah, we had these really great jobs.
Holding it
and
down.
I think that we were like in the liminal space between like the midway space between the way our parents and like shout out to our parents for teaching us how to operate in,
we give love and grace over here,
of course, in like a white working world, but also just like knowing who we are and what we represent. And I do feel like knowing that you were there were other black folks that I feel like we were working with, that I do feel like over the years we did have to come along.
100%. And also, it was like, I feel like that it was also the one thing I love about our generation is that I feel like I can really see the evolution, like the different stages. Like there's such a collective experience, right? Like at least from my observation of it, that like, we did have this moment, like fresh out of college, our first jobs, like being respectable AF. Carmen sent me home. I'm sure, I believe twice, at least twice.
Being sent home.
Carmen was my first boss down here when I was in DC. She sent me home like, you cannot wear that to the Hill. That is crazy. Like, I was supposed to go be a lobbyist, and like she
Carmen
wasn't
said,
wrong, right?
"Absolutely
She wasn't
not."
I
wrong.
might have been wrong.
She, but like also you
Carmen
were
was like,
in
"Go
the
home.
context of it all.
Go home right now.
Not even just like go home, or like walk your ass down to Filene's basement and get an actual outfit that a normal person who's trying to be effective would do. Like, the times were very ill, Nana. You needed a blazer with a double breast. Like, it was not cool to have just, like, you had to go in with the little skirts and the little pumps.
That's what I mean by the arc.
Yes, exactly.
It's
a journey.
We got to evolve into who we are today, because I think the leader that I am now, I don't think that I would send the lobbyist home. I think that I also wouldn't work somewhere that would require me to send the lobbyist home.
I like that.
Yeah, I mean, and I think like the question is, what are the moments that sparked the evolution to you? Like, what are the moments that get you through the arc? Because, you know, we talk about like our first moments of awareness.
Yeah. Like
Of white supremacy.
In that arc for you, Carmen, when was that like moment of, because I feel like we experience white supremacy in various different ways. We experience the product, or one of the products of white supremacy in many different ways, racism. We experience racism in many different ways. But like, when did you like, aha, white supremacy, like, okay, I'm understanding it, and this is it.
Yeah. When Mike Brown was murdered, and we all worked at the AFL-CIO, which was a very intense time, because I worked in the Civil Rights Department. You all worked in the Communications Department. Lee, my husband, worked in the Communications Department. I really felt like we were being disrespected all the time. And I felt like because of the relationships that we had with folks in movement, in Black Lives Matter, in the youth movement, because of all of the work, not just me, but like everybody had, and the relationships that we had with other just BIPOC, queer people, we were keeping the labor movement from getting their ass whooped because of the relationship with law enforcement. And I explicitly remember a couple of things. One, I remember a meeting where we all got brought down to like one of those rooms that had a racist name, where we were basically being threatened to be fired, or asked to leave, because I feel like some people were in a union and some of us weren't, if we continued the way in which we were operating. So that was when I was like, oh, this is what white supremacy is. And the second was, I was told to run a race commission. And there was a moment when one of the consultants was doing an example, and he said, Puerto Rican nigga and Dominican nigga and nigga. I'll never forget this. And Tiffany Lofton, who was working on the project with me, was pissed. I mean, she was in the back like, I cannot believe he is allowed to use the word nigga. And I was like, I have to go back to the office and I have to say something. I have to stand up for us. And I remember going to my boss and being like, he called us a nigga. I'm upset. Tiffany's upset. Like, people had a visceral reaction. And my boss was like, it was just an example, Carmen. And I thought, it was an example, but the Black people on the staff are upset. So that's got to be enough.
It's enough to say no.
And I'm the civil rights director, and I represent all the niggas.
Right.
So for me,
far and wide,
I was like, you know what? It doesn't. Being the highest ranking Black person here, working on all of you all stuff. This is a moment where my values and my job are actually coming to a head, and I am. Even though I care so much about this job, I don't know if you care about us. And I'm not going to work in an environment where I am supposed to be holding the line for you, and you won't hold the line for us.
So,
because it's not even hold the line for you, Carmen. It's hold the line for, and also this is all happening in the middle of like
national
uprising, after police murder, after police
A lot
murder.
was going on at that time.
Yes.
You know, speaking specifically about AFL-CIO, you go through these experiences and it's like, oh, this is the progressive movement, but not everybody in this motherfucker is progressive.
No, at all.
This the progressive movement, but y'all still don't have there's people in this room that have no awareness or like depth around racism, depth around white supremacy. There are people experiencing this moment of Mike Brown's death and they don't know what to fucking say.
Well, and being progressive doesn't mean that you have analysis.
Word. And for a nigga like me, who's like couple years fresh into the like movement, progressive space, that wasn't fully like that. I didn't understand. I was like, okay, we all rocking red, we all rocking black, all right, we all rocking green, so we lit. Like, cool.
I do want to say though, that's okay. Like, I think that part of what's really important, and I'm thinking about this also because I saw a tweet from Derica earlier today. It was just like, you know, basically making the point that like people need to be able to say that like they didn't know. They didn't have that they didn't have the perspective. And I think, she was talking about it in the context of like people being shocked at how the police are responding to protesters violently, right? People that are protesting especially students who are protesting against the genocide and for the Palestinian people. And people are like, they're being attacked, and folks are like, wow, this violence is very shocking to them. But her point is like, yeah, like we actually need it to be okay for people to have that and also like kind of feel bad for those people and have empathy and sympathy and grace for them, because part of what white supremacy tells us is that these are the police are here to protect you. These institutions are here to protect you. Or if you say these things, if you have this level of analysis, right, about a particular issue or progressive values, then you get it all. And like, that's just not the case. And like, I feel like, at least for myself, it's actually a constant learning, unlearning, realizing like, oh, wow, that thought that I had is actually quite anti-Black. Where did that come from? That's actually not what I think or what I value. You know, it's actually from white supremacy. And so I think that like, yeah, definitely a part of disrupting white supremacy is being able to like say and to like hold space for the reality that like, we don't all have these values. Like we were just saying, like we didn't start off like going out to the workplace with our like natural curly hair and like, you know, wearing sweatsuits to the, wherever. Like we were respectable AF.
Remember when we all had our dashikis on at
Oh, shit.
Y'all. Please.
We need to pull up that picture right now.
Wear, like,
I want to scream so
African
bad, y'all.
garb to work, and people acted like, they just acted so weird.
I feel like there were people there that like weren't even
What
working.
a time.
I feel like there were people there that
fucking time.
there were people there that weren't even working at the AFL-CIO, but were like homies
Where did you come from?
Coworkers, and they were just like,
Where dashiki
we gonna
today?
be in the photo too, right?
Where dashiki today? Where dashiki? Wear your skirt.
Get your dashiki from 14th and K.
Please.
But on some real.
Oh my God, I'm sick.
That was some of my that was some of the most, I don't know, like fun and memorable moments at working at the AFL-CIO and like being Black in that workspace is like, hey yo, we all wearing black today.
Yeah.
And then all the niggas.
Yeah.
Show up on Thursday wearing
black.
Yeah. And then you see white people just like.
And this isn't to rag on the AFL-CIO or any of the unions.
Not at all.
Because I'm pro union. I am pro like the wages and the reasons why.
Absolutely.
I just feel like if you want to, that time, if you remember, was Charleston shooting, Sandra Bland. It was such an intense time. It was so intense. And then the fact that people didn't learn anything, because then you fast forward to like George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, and then like this, you all like still haven't learned, you still haven't read any of the reports.
Yeah.
For me, it's why I almost hardened, because I felt like, well, after all this time, not just that institution, but so many work institutions still hadn't like needed DEI. Yeah. And it's not that I don't believe in DEI,
failing
because
at
I
it.
do, but I'm like,
just doing it terribly.
You all still don't understand why you need to have some type of analysis. Okay, cool. You don't understand why it's important, not just to understand Black folks, but understand Asian folks and Latinx folks and immigration and really all of our communities, and how white supremacy and y'all's bull has harmed us. Word. And why you need to stop.
Like, this is not shaming organizations. There is no perfect institution.
No.
But that's also part of unlearning white supremacy, is an expectation that any of these institutions will get it perfect.
Right. And because of that, we are able to actually, go back in time, talk about our experiences in a healthy way. Like, this is I say all this to say that if you're an organization that gets named on this podcast, just know it is with love, it is with accountability, it is with grace and being done in a healthy way. In fact, this is legit free data for y'all niggas.
You're welcome.
So, like,
as a matter of fact, you're welcome.
You're welcome.
Same podcast, but you're welcome.
Okay.
You're welcome. So as we continue,
I actually have a thought to what you said, which is connected to some of the work that Angela has done, some of the work we've done together, which is a part of the solution. It's like, okay, so the organizations have done very odd, weird things, and some of the things that you have done and that we have collectively done together, like Black Women For, like Black, Black and Engaged.
Black and Engaged.
There are ways in which sometimes we have tried to put our faith in these large institutions that have failed us deeply, and that you and many other Black folks have decided, except we can actually just create power for ourselves. And we can create these projects that allow for us to have our own narrative, to have electoral power, and to speak about how powerful we can be from our perspective, which is why I always do things with you.
Well, I thought that this was, everybody sort of knew this, but like, I am pretty clear that like Black people culturally, like, we move the culture.
Yes.
In most cases, we are the culture, but we certainly move the culture. So at some point, it just sort of occurred to me, I think this is specifically true with Black Women For, it just occurred to me that like, if we just say what it is,
totally,
there's a good chance that that's going to be what it is.
Yeah.
Or at least it's going to be a part of what it is. And like, just putting my narrative strategist nerd hat on for a second, like, when it comes to narrative and storytelling, like, if you say a thing, it's real, and enough people are like, oh yeah, I could see that being a thing. It's really hard to take it out of the discourse. Yeah. Once you put an idea out there and it churns a little bit, it kind of just is. So we get to say, actually, Black people, this idea that like Black voters are going to, this is in 2019, Black voters are going to vote for Joe Biden. I'm going to save Joe Biden. Black women are going to save Joe Biden. Like, the fuck? Like, no, we're not. Not all of us anyway. And like, just being able to say something different, it could mean that things are different. And like, I don't know, I just think that idea, especially when you're thinking about your workplaces, like, white people, non-Black people take for granted just how dominant we are on this cultural shifting shit. We do it. We're the ones that say all of the shit that look at what's his name, Travis Kelce, right? Everyone's like, oh, Travis Kelce, he's so cool. Look at his haircut. Nigga, that was niggas. It's always been niggas. It was always us. Like, You, Travis Kelce, and he even said it's like he likes the haircut.
They said that
It's a fade,
They
right?
said that.
Yeah, it's a fade. It's a fade.
Somebody put an article out that was like
all these boys want the Travis Kelce haircut.
I'm like,
It was
fade. Like,
basically they were like, "This is the Travis Kelce." It was like,
And Travis
"That's
Kelce has
fucking
a fade because black men are cool
for like a century.
and made the shit cool. And now, and like literally moving the culture, like it's as easy as like doing your hair.
The reason why I, just to go back to our time working together at the AFL and working with Black Women For and some of the stuff we worked on, the reason why I've loved working with the South, even though it wasn't called the South at the time, is because I do feel like what we were doing at the AFL-CIO was revolutionary work culture shift.
totally."
So what we were doing is, Kevin, like every month we were putting out these like cultural history month posters, and Kevin was designing them. And which I still have like all over my house. And actually I was in a bathroom somewhere in DC and I was like, I don't even know if Kevin knows that this is here, but this is his. You're welcome, Fannie Lou Hamer. There were thousands of these things that got created. We had these like MLK conference T-shirts that people were like chomping at the bit for. Yeah. And then when you started doing the what was the thing we did in Virginia?
Oh, In Charge.
When we
Black
had
women
In
taking
Charge,
action.
like people were like trying to get the T-shirts and like people were trying to get the merchandise, and then we did Black Women For.
Because if it's one thing the South is gonna do, is gonna have some merch. We're gonna have you on some swag.
You all are gonna have some fly ass swag. And so I think that is something that you all have always had a very just like forward thinking mind about. But I think I got a chance to see you all do it before you turned it into the business.
Mm-hmm.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, but yes, and like I'm listening to you talk, and I'm thinking about that MLK conference.
Oh man.
What year was that?
I'm gonna say
2013?
No, it was like-
No, that was 2015 or 2016. No, it was 2016.
Oh, it was before the Women's March.
2016.
Okay.
It was definitely before the Women's March.
2016.
It was 2016.
Yeah.
January.
Yeah, and like
Because that was a marker in time too.
It
Oh
was.
my God.
That was a
Like-
moment.
first of all, shout out to you, Carmen, for even giving me the green light to design the like branding and vibe for the conference, because one, I think I just like wiggled my way into making that. I don't think I was not even supposed to. I was not even supposed to be designing shit like that for real. But I was just like, I'll do it. Or I think I just
because nobody cared about us.
It
Because
was
as
just
usual,
like-
white people didn't care about the conference.
Word.
And we had $8.
And I'm like,
and you
oh,
said, I'll do it.
I can't remember who told. I can't remember if it was you or Tiffany, but somebody told me what the phrase was. It was like, "Be the power, be the change, be the power." And I was like, yo, this feels like some shit that I could fucking. I was like, oh, I know exactly what y'all are looking for. And then I send you the designs, and I remember the specific design that I was like really wanted to like actually be the design for the conference. I remember being like, man, I don't think this is gonna get approved, but this is something that I would choose. This is something that, like, if I were running a conference, like, this is it. Like, this is lit. And I remember just being, like, nervous. Like, damn, I know these are, I was like, these are, like, the, like, palatable AFL-CIO ones. This is the, like, oh, no, this is the one that I would go to. And I sent it, and, like, you fucked with it, and it became the branding for the conference. But for me, it was, like, entering a creative portal that was just like so much is possible. Not only so much is possible, but like and that's, again, shout out to the AFL-CIO, because there's things that I experienced at the AFL-CIO that I feel like as a creative, I just wouldn't understand if I didn't actually get to go through these experiences. Something as simple as designing something on your laptop and then seeing it printed throughout an entire fucking conference. Like, and I'm walking through the fucking Hilton, and I'm literally walking through just like observing and just like soaking it all in. I'm just like, my brain's just expanding. It's like so much is possible, and I just wouldn't actually know what that feeling was like if it wasn't for the AFL-CIO, if it wasn't for you clearing the pathway, approving a nigga like me to design some shit like that. And like to those posters, like on some real shit, I was literally designing shit, and then I was like, I'm gonna go print this downstairs. And I was like,
because we had a printer downstairs.
They had this official ass printer downstairs. There's like a whole printing work. This is like FedEx printing shop.
I very much remember this time
the
in our lives.
AFL-CIO, but like it wasn't FedEx clearly. But like, and for me, I'm like, all right, I want like 100 of these posters printed, and I'm like, I'll pay for them. And they're like, yeah, your posters are done. And I'm just like, all right, gonna take these posters back. And it was just like, once I realized like, okay, y'all don't really give a fuck about me printing these posters. Okay, bet. I'm about to design everything, and I'm about to print everything.
Just to bring it back to the kind of where we started the conversation, like that is the power of Black coworkers.
That's right.
Yo.
In power and in access.
Yes.
Like you seeing Kevin and being like, oh, you're a nigga. Like,
Let's do this.
cool. One, this is great because you're gonna bond with my husband and y'all are gonna like go crazy with the shit. And two, to be able to like create space for you to then see what is possible for you in your work and your creativity and your strategy and your design, like, and also to have another Black coworker in Kevin that is also down to be Black with a capital B in the workplace, be unapologetic with their values and with the like being willing to do the work, to say like when the shit got tough for you, at least you had people that were like wear dashikis with you on whatever day and would help you design something that was at least cool AF, so that you could feel good about what you were presenting. Like that is the power of being a Black coworkers and disrupting white supremacy in your workplace and showing up to be who you are for real.
And I even want to elevate it more. Like that conference was so disrespected. Okay, like this was the conference that was for all the people of color and all the gay people in the whole labor movement. And we had like $150,000 and it always ran a deficit. And our whole
$150K. That's
and
terrible.
Our whole department had $300,000. Meanwhile, Kevin's department had like $3 million. And so I remember being like, we don't have any money for the conference. I don't know how we're going to do this. The only thing we can do is make it look cool. And so because Lee and Kevin and the director and like all the comms people were like, we'll help you. And so Kevin really did me a solid by doing the designs. Right. And it backfired on him. And it backfired on him because it was so hard when we blew all that stuff up and we walk into the Hilton and it's like, oh my God, like this is the blackest conference ever. People were so excited. I mean, people remember that conference for the rest of our lives. Then the next couple of years, we made that conference look so big and look so amazing and look so awesome and look like it had so much money that people worked their ass off to diminish the department. And I'm like, we still don't have shit.
Right, wait a minute. Pause. This shit looks flame. This shit looks flame.
It looks cleaner than the Board of Health. But Kevin is downstairs printing. He's downstairs begging for the prints.
Oh my God.
Because that's how white supremacy works.
Woo!
And I definitely have to shout out Lee. I mean, Lee, I feel like we held like therapy sessions in the middle of work type shit. Like, you know, he'd come into my office, tell me some shit, pep rally it up. All right, break. I'd go into his office, pep rally it up. These niggas did. Da, 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 da. All right, break. Shout out to Black coworkers who get it. For those who don't, we might wait on you. We might not.
We still love you.
We still love
We
you.
got you. You can still get a plate.
You know, you can still pull
If
up
you get there, child.
if you get there, because you might
trying to
not.
start on time these days.
You know what I'm saying? But we have Carmen Berkley here, and I just want to ask you, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm okay. You know, my sister just passed away. And I think that for me, I'm on the other side of, she had been sick for a long time. And so I think that for me, being on the other side of someone passing away, even though I grieve her physical body, I also feel like I've gained an angel, and I feel like I've gained all of her positivity and all her love and all her energy. And my sister's name was Kia. And she just, when she was alive, she was somebody that I felt like I could always go to for, she was just my biggest cheerleader and just so much support. And last year, I worked on a book that is called The Empath Leader that I was really shy about working on. I co-authored a chapter.
Come on, author.
Author Berkley is what my husband calls me.
Author Berkley.
Author
yes, ma'am.
Berkley.
And I know that
Best-selling author Berkley. Let's be clear.
Author.
Word.
But I just know that if Kia was still with us, that she would be encouraging me and be proud that I put some of the thoughts that I have on paper, because sometimes, even though I'm like extroverted and I'm talking about things all the time, there are parts about me that I don't talk about. And some of those that I wrote about in the book are about my leadership style, because my leadership style is very intimate and it's very much connected to care. Like, I care about people almost to a fault. And at first I thought that was I thought it was bad. I was taught that caring about people at work was a bad thing, and then I learned through this process and being around other empathic people that caring about people is a good thing. You just have to be focused in how you do it so that you don't just totally, wimp out. But also that people need to be cared about, especially coming out of COVID, which was such a horrible, awful time. And it that hardened us
So much.
And so if we come out of COVID and have a culture of how are you doing today? Almost the question that you asked me, how are you doing? It's not a real, most people just say, I'm fine, I'm okay. No, you're not. And so I always knew to care about people, which is why me and you are still friends after like 17 years. That's why me and you are still friends after a long time, because my theory around leadership is to care about people. So I am okay. I'm grieving, but I'm cool, but I'm happy that I have I feel like my sister is like, Carmen, talk about this thing that you really care about so that you can help other leaders know that they're not weird or weak for caring about people.
Definitely send my condolences to you and your family. Definitely want to shout out Kia. Would love if you could send us some photos. I would love if it's okay with you.
Yeah.
If we could maybe honor this episode.
In memory of
Kia.
And her children. Shout out to her children.
Yeah.
Sierra and Kendall.
Word.
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be dope. And in Kia's honor, let's talk about this book.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be author Berkley?
New York Times best-selling author Berkley.
Amazon.
Sorry. Amazon
I got it
best-selling
right
author
here.
Berkley.
I've been reading it, so it's like raggedy. It feels like something that I probably should have did a while ago. I hope that the two of you also get a chance to do something like this too.
Word.
Because what I learned through this process, and you and I talked about this, each of us has a technology, like
You keep going.
each of us has a technology, a thing that like Spirit and God gave us that only we have. And I feel like I got a chance in this book to talk about my technology, which is my chapter is called The Care Bear Model of Leadership, which if you can see my slippers, I'm wearing my Care Bear slippers.
So,
And I feel like, you've worked with me directly before as a manager, but I feel like even though I can be an asshole, I can also be like a loving manager.
It's assholery with love.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's a loving ass beat.
Yeah, so
It's not even it's quite caring.
yeah, so we're gonna get stuff done, but
I just want to say I have personally never experienced the like asshole version of your leadership. I think I have. It's to me, it's like, all right. There's a time where Carmen is doing her thing, and she's she's mobbing with you, she's meeting you where you're at, and then there's like precision and accuracy and very sharp Carmen. Like,
Yeah, I had evolved by the time I had met you. That's why I'm really happy me and Angela are still friends. Every time I see her, I'm like, whoo, thank God she's just hung on.
I mean, you totally sent her home, so I can imagine.
Oh, yeah, really. Every time I see
Sorry
her.
that happened to you,
Carmen, the reason that I know how to do work plans is because of Carmen.
Yeah.
She and it is true. Like, this is exactly what you're describing. It's like, bitch, you guessed it. But like in the most loving way possible. Like, honey, that's not a work plan. That's what she said to me. She's like, I had to spend all this time. I'm fresh out of college. It's my first job. What the fuck is a work plan? I don't know what you're talking about.
It's like words.
You talk about like, here's the template, blah, blah, blah. I did it. That's not a work plan. I'm pretty sure that like it was like 8:00 at night at the USSA office, and you're like, you need to do it again. I was in tears. It was terrible.
Oh, you were in tears.
I was crying. Yeah, well, I'm a crybaby. But also, I
cried with her.
This
is terrible.
Right.
I am so sorry you have to do this again. I cannot believe we have to do this again.
But I will tell you, I make stellar work plans now. Like, I am so good at it. It comes very easily to me because I was like, and also I think the loving part is also like, baby girl, I'm not going to let you go off to your next workplace not knowing how to do a work plan. Like, I'm
you
just
came
not.
From where?
Yeah, I'm not going to let you do that. I'm not going to let you go to your next job because your next job will be likely with a white woman. Who is not going to give you another chance to do it again. She's gonna be like, oh wow, this person does not have a work plan.
That part, and not that I even know more than, because at that time we were both the same age. But my thought around this is that, especially Black folks, I feel like sometimes we are given the like charismatic job, or we're supposed to always like do the rally stuff. And oftentimes we are not seen as the strategists, but we are the strategists. We are oftentimes the smartest person in the room. And I'm not saying like we are excellent. And so in as much as we can be excellent, like let's exhibit what that looks like. And so I don't ask anybody to do anything that I don't ask myself to do. So if I redo my own work plan. I also accept a lot of feedback from my own staff. Like it's not like Angela hasn't given me feedback, but I do feel like when I meet another Black person at work and I'm like, they could level up, I know it, I tell them. Because I think the biggest disservice that you can do is when you meet somebody who's awesome, you let them keep limping and dragging along. Why?
Why?
Help them raise up.
Yeah.
So when they're not awesome, how do you approach? Because, and just from where I'm coming from with that question, I'm like thinking about like, you're like, I wouldn't ask anybody to do anything that like you wouldn't essentially do. But I'm also like, but nigga, you like Kobe Bryant. Like you be putting up numbers on the fucking board. Like I literally, like you said that, and I literally remembered this one moment at AFL where we're constantly, the digital department is constantly putting you as like a like content TV personality person. And I literally, mind you, I'm like low as hell on the totem pole in the digital department. I'm like, hey, Carmen's a whole director of another department. If y'all about to have her do this shit, compensation, acknowledgement, like she's very good at it. Yes, I agree. I would love for her to do all of our fucking videos. However, whole ass other department to run. So like, it's like, yo, you Kobe. So like, what do you do when you are interacting with, or when you meet somebody that isn't amazing, super brilliant? How do you push them? How do you motivate them?
Well, I do believe that everyone has their own technology. So I really do believe that. So I try to understand, well, what is their secret sauce? Now, some people, especially white men, are often mismatched at work with their
technology.
Yes, they're very high up, mismatched with the job, and oftentimes I've had to learn to accept that because that's how I'm able to survive the world.
I hate that shit.
Oh, not more than me. But
it's a mismatch.
I'd be like, this nigga just has a suit on.
Yeah, but for me, I also am like, my assignment is not to honestly be worried about the people who are mismatched. My assignment is to be like, okay, but when I meet somebody who is hustling and hungry, to help them get to where they need to be too. Because when I also see the other Kobe's and LeBrons, I'm like, come on, I see you too. Like we can get there together. Because I don't see myself as being better than anyone. I see myself as being right in the middle with everyone. And if we can all raise up together, then we can be great. We can be the Lakers of this time together. But I'm not going to lie. I do have a hard time working with people that are not trying to tap into their technology. Because there are some people where they're mismatched and it's not their fault. And so if they let me, I can help them. And I usually can be like, hey, you're working on computer science, and I really think you might be better at accounting. Yeah. And if you can let me help you, because I've been managing people since I was 22. Yeah. So if you can let me help you, I can actually help steer you in a better direction. But honestly, people that are not trying to level up, I do have a hard time working with. And I do try to not work with them because I know my personality type can be frustrating for them because I'm a pusher.
That's real.
Yeah.
You keep mentioning technology. In the way that you're using it, it sounds like you're referencing like everybody has a unique superpower.
Yeah, I learned that from Claudia Catarucci in this book. And she talks about in the book people having a technology or a unique superpower and trying to tap into that thing. She told me recently that I had like a glitter superpower. You actually kind of just said it. Like there's something about my personality where people are often asking me to like do more public things. And for a long time, I would always be like, okay, I'll do it. But I I'm a little shy about it. And then finally I just said, girl, you're good at communications.
Yeah.
Do it.
Just do it.
Yeah.
It's not.
You're an incredible messenger.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
you
also
really
went
are.
to school for communications.
Yeah.
Word.
And so even though my family wasn't necessarily excited about me going to school for communications, it's what I'm good at. I can deliver a message. I can tell you something you don't even want to hear, and you will accept it coming from me because of how I give it to you. That's a part of my technology. And so that's what I mean by if each of us actually accept the thing that we are the best at or we're good at, and we hone in on it, we actually get to live our best life. And that's what I try to help people identify when I'm at work.
That's pretty magical. It's really magical because of how much time we spend at work, right? And if you can, we talk so much about like disrupting white supremacy and like trying to live liberated lives and like what that looks like because of how much time we spend at work or doing our jobs. If we can also have that, some of that time be time that we're also trying to like tap into our most liberated selves or like some level of liberation, some level of like living free, like that feels pretty transformational. I'm a big fan of like the small steps that we take, that everybody takes, builds up to our collective liberation. Like I don't think it's gonna, I don't, in my life, my experience has not been like you just wake up and all of a sudden you're like liberated. All of a sudden you got it gone. All of a sudden you like, you've released yourself from like the systematic oppressive ideas that we've all grown up with. Like it's a daily, hourly moments, decisions that you make. And I feel like the work that you're describing doing is helping people tap into, to make those decisions on a day-to-day basis in their jobs and in their workplaces or as their leadership, to like try to approach that freedom for themselves. You know what I mean? Like it's never gonna be like, all right, here I am, I'm free, I'm liberated, but you got to create the pockets. You got to make the decisions every single day, every moment to be like, I have a choice, I have an option, I'm choosing to try this other thing.
Yeah. Well, white people try to steal our dreams. And they try to steal them constantly, but I feel like especially for those of us who are like the victims of enslavement and like the mid-Atlantic slave trade, they literally tried to steal our dreams. And so I feel like especially our parents and our parents' generations, they were able to like break free of being enslaved in many ways, but I do feel like many of them work in these disciplines that they don't really want to be in. And so I feel like my mom, as an example, I'm so grateful for her because she's worked for the airlines for over 40 years. But I know that that's not her dream. She's so creative. She's so good with her hands. And I don't know what she would be doing if she wasn't working for the airlines, but I assume that maybe she would be an interior designer or perhaps she would be an event planner. She's so good at it. And so because of that, I noticed that in my husband's mom. I noticed that in so many other people of that age. And so because I feel like they're not free in that way, this is my baby way of freeing our generation. You're not going to ever work with me or for me and not be able to tap into that freedom because our parents and our parents' parents and our parents' parents' generation were robbed of those dreams. I will not allow for the white supremacy work culture to rob our generation of this dream. I will not allow that to happen. I will hold us accountable. You're not going to fuck around and work with me. We will get things done. We will hit our metrics. We will do all the things that you tell us to do, but we will be our best selves. You will tap into your technology.
I fucking love that. It's making me think about something that I was thinking about a couple of days ago as I was like processing just us releasing and doing this podcast. Which is like not wanting to get to heaven and be like, yeah, I could have did that shit, but I could have did that shit too, but nah, because I literally have that experience with high school. I'm like, oh, I could have played basketball, I could have played football, could have fucked around with debate club, but didn't do any of that shit. So for me, part of like this, like, dismantling, disrupting white supremacy is like, kind of similar to what you're saying is like, there's a part of white supremacy that tells us not to live, not to be creative, tells my mom to stay at this job for 25 plus years, don't investigate your joy and passion for jewelry. Don't investigate your ability to walk into the jeweler with a fucking quartz stone and tell this nigga to make you a bracelet. And now you got like, so there's this a part of me that's just like, nah. And I feel like, you know, there's this weird intersection between disrupting white supremacy and leadership. And there's something there. And it definitely sounds like your book that you helped bring together touches up on various pieces of like leadership qualities that I feel like essentially disrupt white supremacy, could be tools that help you disrupt white supremacy. Because if I don't accept and embrace the fact that I'm an empath, I have feelings, I can walk into the room and be like, it's about 6 niggas in this motherfucker that are happy, 2 niggas that are crying or that walked in here after crying, 2 other niggas that had a horrible night. Like,
whoa.
If I could walk in a room and tell all of that, like, how dare I just sit there and not
use that as a part of your leadership.
Be a part of that community and lead.
Yes.
So definitely shout out to you. Shout out to the fact that, you know, you led yourself to speak about your experience, to be a part of writing this book. I do want to ask, what was that experience like for you? Because it seems like there's 3 authors.
5. There's 5 of us.
Oh, there's 5 authors.
5 authors.
Got it. How was that experience writing?
Oh, it was so freeing. I met Claudia, who's the main author, and Kaylee and Charles because we were in a empath leadership coaching class that Claudia led. She told me I was an empath, and I was like, am I a witch? And so,
Hikey.
am I psychic? I don't know.
Love that for us.
And so I was really scared of that. And then once I went through the program, I realized, and she talks about this in the book, that I'm clairsentient, which means that I feel things very deeply. Like, that's why I cry a lot. That's why I'm just like, I can walk into a room and feel what's happening. It's why when I facilitate, I can move the room because I can feel what's happening. And so about a year later, Claudia and Kaylee came back to me and they were like, hey, we want to write this book. Would you be willing to introduce a chapter? And so, and you can, you know, write about whatever you want to write about. And so I was like, I think I want to write about leadership because I do feel like I've always been very, what's the word? I've always felt sensitive about being a sensitive and caring leader. And when I wrote my chapter about... I talk about like being in the Girl Scouts and about being a Care Bear, and I ran it past my husband Lee because I was like, this nigga gonna tell me the truth. And he love you, because Lee is he's my truth.
Word.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And Lee, who helped me edit the chapter and really helped me rework it, he was so supportive. He was like, this is you. And like all the stories, he was like, this is you. Like, this is real. And so for me, how was the process? I feel like this is the most honest I've ever been. And so even though it's not even that long, maybe it's like 20 pages. I don't even know how many pages it is. But my hope is now that I've done this, I feel really confident doing something else. I see the tentacles. I see why people write books.
Yes, books, plural.
I know why people put their superpower on wax.
Word.
Because put it down so that it's forever.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter. Because at first I was like, oh, thousands of people aren't liking it and picking it up. And it is not on at the airport. It's not on New York Times bestseller. It actually doesn't matter. If one person picks up my stuff and says, I really resonate with this. That was good enough for me.
I mean, it resonates with me, even just hearing your journey to write, even just hearing that how cathartic it was for you, how nurturing it was for you. I just love it. And again, like, it's about this liberation practice of freeing yourself from reasons to not do it, freeing yourself from the reason to say no, right? Which is all of the shit that white supremacy and patriarchy and capitalism tell us about who we are, who we're supposed to be. No, write a fucking book, write books, plural. You are an expert. And whoever the experts are that say who the experts are, fuck them. You're the expert.
Facts. Definitely. Y'all, this has been an amazing time.
Really fun.
Carmen, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for sharing this space with us. Thank you for being
our
first guest.
Love you.